Hi, this is again Chris Janke and welcome to Lecture 3 of Module 2, where we will take a look at examples of international SUAS regulations and close this lecture series with an outlook to the future. Civil aviation authorities around the world take many different regulatory approaches towards SUAS. Subject to regulations are licensing of pilots and operator entities, SUAS certification and operational restrictions on automatic or autonomous modes, rather than remotely piloted modes, and also flights in beyond visual line of sight, or BVLOS. Also, we have different regulations for remote, rural and urban areas of operation. This is a structure of unmanned aircraft in general, proposed by the International Civil Aviation Organization ICAO, illustrating how to organize and define several types of SUAS according to modes of operation. As you can see, it starts from the model aircraft application and goes over to remotely piloted aircraft, which are by definition controlled by a remote pilot. And then with an overlapping area, it transfers to autonomous aircraft, which can conduct flights without any human intervention. As you have heard earlier, there is no regulation for autonomous unmanned aircraft, therefore this operation is mostly forbidden or restricted to experimental flights in segregated airspace. And you can see here that regulation starts with definition and distinction. And among those definitions and distinctions, civil aviation authorities regulate the use of SUAS. Most of these parameters define the expected risk of the operation, especially those like maximum takeoff weight or area of operations. Others are more important for aspects like insurance or general acceptance. And below you can see that there are many more possible parameters which can define and distinct SUAS operations like noise, kinetic energy, endurance or altitude. Let's take a look at Europe. In Europe, SUAS are called RPAS, remotely piloted aircraft systems. And rules are very similar, but also somehow different to those in the US. When talking about Europe and SUAS regulations, you have to keep in mind that the European Union is a supranational entity representing 28 member states that have in many cases their own legal systems. This is also the case for the regulation of SUAS or drones currently. So unlike in the United States, is it not easy to find a common rulemaking here. Nevertheless, the European Aviation Safety Agency residing in Cologne, Germany, published some basic guidelines that can be pretty helpful to increase awareness and safety. Like in many other countries, the authorities address directly the responsibility of the pilots to comply with the rules. Knowledge, respect, integrity and awareness are key points here. Similar to the US regulations, the rules in Europe also address privacy and data protection in regards to the camera drones. Another aspect is insurance that should cover possible third-party liabilities and indemnifications. As I said, regulation of SUAS is currently under the jurisdiction of EU member states, but there is currently an ongoing process of change and transfer of competence on the European level. The approach of EASA in a nutshell is depicted here. The operation-centric aspect pays tribute to the fact that operational risk does not come from a single factor like maximum takeoff weight, but more maybe from the operating environment and the circumstances. Also, the assessment of operations should be risk-based, so based on scenarios of what can go wrong in terms of probability and severity, permission shall be granted or not. The three categories, open, specific and certified, are operational categories, not SUAS type categories. They also address the aspects of risk from beyond visual line of sight flights. And another important principle is the safe and harmonized coexistence of manned and unmanned flights. This video is a good summary of the European SUAS regulations. It covers many areas. Let's have a look at it.
Drones are not toys. They can be dangerous, and their use is strictly regulated to avoid accidents. You are responsible for your flight. Always check the rules. Today, rules differ from country to country. If you take your drone on holiday, rules might be different from those in your home country. In all countries, 3 main types of rules will apply to your drone activity. Pay attention, some countries have different rules for model aircraft activities. Please verify whether they apply to your flight. Remember that rules are meant to prevent accidents and to protect people. However, breaking the rules might lead to criminal prosecution and financial consequences. Safety and operations. Before takeoff, check if flying restrictions apply in the area you plan to operate in. Cities and large portions of the airspace above your head are forbidden for drones. Never fly near airports or people. Always keep your drone in sight in order to avoid obstacles and accidents. Always respect flying restrictions and follow available national safety guidelines. Insurance and liability. Check your private liability contract to make sure you are insured. When in doubt, contact your insurer. If you're not insured, ask for an extended coverage or purchase a new contract. Privacy and data protection. Privacy is protected by laws and is considered a fundamental right in Europe. Good practice recommendations. Respect people's right to privacy and do not intentionally interfere with their private life. Whenever possible, inform people about your intention to take pictures or videos and ask for their permission. Think before sharing personal data on the internet and social media. When in doubt or for any further information about privacy obligations, visit our website or contact your National Data Protection Authority. Now that you're aware of some of the most important rules, have fun and enjoy your flight. For more information,
as you have heard, always make sure to comply with your domestic SUAS regulation. This is a video example now from Australia. It covers also many aspects of safety and responsibility. Australia has also a very sophisticated regulatory approach towards SUAS operation. For more information, you might also want to check their homepage that is given here in the reference. Let's have a look at the video.
More and more people are flying drones. They're fun to fly, but you must be responsible. So, before you take off, follow these simple rules to keep everyone safe. Only fly during the day, and keep your drone where you can see it, within your line of sight. Keep at least 30 meters away from vehicles, buildings, and other people. Don't fly over heavily populated areas like beaches, parks, and sporting venues, and always respect other people's privacy. In controlled airspace, which covers most Australian cities, you mustn't fly your drone higher than 120 metres or 400 feet. That's about the length of a footy field. Don't be a menace to other aircraft. So keep well away from airports and other aerodromes. And if you see other aircraft nearby, land your drone immediately. Find out more at casa.gov.au/RPA. Have fun, but fly your drone responsibly.
So, a very informative video from Australia here. Let's go to the next slide and have an outlook into the future. What will the future bring for the field of SUAS? The technology options and the business models are developing fast, and regulation has to keep pace. The importance of SUAS coordination in uncontrolled airspace will definitely increase, especially with geofencing and separation of airspace participants. Some kind of deconfliction is definitely necessary in the future. New technologies will evolve to address and mitigate the hazards of mid-air collision and ground impact, just like parachutes and airbags and some kind of maybe transponder equivalents for all airspace participants. In general, it can be said that SUAS will be a growing factor in many industries, such as agriculture and logistics, for example. And after all, awareness building and education is the key to everything. By taking this massive open online course, you have already increased your knowledge about the growing field of unmanned aircraft systems in general. Why not go further ahead and pursue a degree in unmanned systems? Embry-Riddle offers graduate and undergraduate academic education in unmanned systems throughout all domains: land, maritime, air, and even space. And with these programs, enable graduates to immediately assume a professional responsibility within the rapidly growing and dynamic industry. For example, we have the Bachelor of Science in Unmanned Systems Application, the Master of Science in Unmanned Systems, and several non-degree professional education courses and programs. The focus of these degrees and programs has been placed on the development, production, application, and management of unmanned systems to support the growing and changing needs of the industry. For more information, go to erau.edu or directly to the homepage of the College of Aeronautics. So what are your Module 2 tasks? First of all, review the assigned readings and the rest of the videos that are posted. Respond to the discussion board postings and take the Module 2 quiz. And if desired, and I can strongly recommend that, jump into the student lounge and have a conversation with your classmates. Also review the advanced concepts, reading and videos, and as always send in a question via the Ask the Expert link. As I mentioned, this is how to do questions. Check to see that your questions and answers are not already there present. Then if not, go to the Ask the Expert page. So in a summary, we can say that SUAS are new technology that involves chances and challenges. And a good citation is this one from Mr. Wassenberg, who has been a prophet when he said, "Man who makes law will always be outpaced by events." As regards the law of the air, however, he will have to try to keep the time lag as short as possible. In aviation policy, therefore, even though existing legal views may be taken as a basis, a watchful eye will have to keep pace. We can say that a major concern in the manned aviation sector is currently that SUAS participate as an aircraft in the national airspace system. They are not just toys or delivery systems, therefore we all have the responsibility to know this and participate equally. By being part of the solution, you won't be a part of the problem. You just can be a part of the aviation safety culture. This is Chris Janke, College of Aeronautics, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Thanks for watching, be safe and take care.